Okay. Hello, my name is Mason Menaker. I am in Dr. Schaefer's Period 3 Marine Biology class. And, and this is my final project. We were told to find an organism that doesn't have much research on it, not much that you can find just on basic Wikipedia, and look and delve deeper into the subjects and into these organisms and see what we could learn, and then write and create a presentation on them and share our ideas and findings with the class. So, for my presentation, I decided that I would go with the organism called the Fiddler Ray. There are two of these. There's the eastern and there's the southern Fiddler Ray, but they're very similar, so I'm going to be talking about both of them together, and the characteristics I'm going to be talking about are relating to both, just so that you know as I go through my presentation. Alright. To start my presentation off, I have a little video of a Fiddler Ray just so that you get to know what it looks like moving around and to see what it actually is. So here we go. This video was taken, as you can see, in Port Phillip Bay, which is in Australia. And these are Fiddler Rays. They have two eyes that protrude from their bodies and large disc bodies, as you can see, with lines and patterns running up and down them. They have a long tail with two dorsal fins and a tail fin as well. Alright, so to start off, some basic information about guitarfish. About Fiddler Rays, they're in the genus of guitarfish, and they're found in the family Rhinobatidae. They're found along the eastern and southern coasts of Australia. And Fiddler Rays are benthic in nature, meaning they like shallow sandy bays, rocky reefs, and seagrass beds. The flattened pectoral fin and discs of Fiddler Rays are shorter and more rounded than those of other guitarfish, setting them apart. And the nasal flaps of their nostrils are actually expanded backwards and fused together, which gives them a different appearance of guitarfish as well. Their back is yellow to brown in color, and they have a pattern of broad white stripes that are bordered with brown edges, as you can see in this video, the one with the diver holding it right now. Alright. They have rows of teeth up here that allow them to get their food. Alright, moving on, now that you've seen what they look like. They're in the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Chondrodristhys, subclass Elasmobranchi, and order Ragiformes and family Rhinobatidae, and genus Trigonoreida. So here is a phylogenetic tree showing the evolution of where the Fiddler Ray falls in place and how it evolved from other organisms. Here's the start. These are from sharks, basically. So this is a fish. And right here you see the Scalomorphes, which are sharks. And now as you move along, you see the sharks start turning into rays. These fins get longer and wider. Here you see more rounded ones. Still a basic tail, not very many fins here. And finally you get to Trigonorina. Not finally, but what we're going to be talking about, which is the Fiddler Ray right here. If you go even farther, you find guitarfish, and even farther, manta rays and normal stingrays. A main difference between these stingrays that are more evolved, a lot more evolved along than the Fiddler Rays are. They're more rounded, and their tails don't have any fins on them, helping for aerodynamics and for steering. Instead, they're long and whippy tails that sting and help protect them from predators. Okay. Now, more about them. The eggs develop inside the female for 4 to 5 months, and the 2 or 3 egg capsules that are inside the females actually contain up to 3 embryos. An interesting fact about the females, they can hold the eggs inside their bodies until the conditions outside are right, so the water's warm and there's plenty of food. They give birth to a litter of 4 to 6, and as I said, they can be delayed until temperatures are right. Now, to talk about where they are, here's a map of Australia. The southern fiddler rays are in the south, right here, Trigonorina fasciata, and the eastern fiddler rays are right here, Trigonorina diramili, that are right here. Yet, both of these basically are the same, being that they cross. Scientists actually have such a hard time differentiating between the two of them that when trying to do a study to determine the amount of them that actually were, they couldn't actually do it because the species overlap so much that it's impossible, basically impossible to tell the difference of them, and they get mistaken for each other all of the time. Now that I've shown you that they're off the coast of Australia, southern and eastern coast, I'm going to talk about the habitats that they're in. Alright, so to start, the fiddler rays, they aren't very sensitive to light, being that their eyes are basically blind for the most part, and they're not directly affected by changes in salinity of the water, only by their prey if they're affected by the salinity. And being that they stay really close to the bottom, they're bottom feeders, benthic, they aren't really affected by currents that are happening up above them. They feed on crustaceans, such as crabs, shrimp, small fishes, mollusks, and worms. And the smaller ones, the small juveniles, feed mostly on even smaller crustaceans, like amphipods, isopods, and mysid shrimp. They take place on seashores and to depths about 100 meters, and in the same places as shovel-nose rays, as well as guitarfish. So basically in the same areas. They're very common in coastal waters throughout where they are, and they occasionally, once in a while, will enter estuaries. You can find them in fish like that, where fish are like that. Now, the main focus of my project was on the adaptations that fiddler rays actually have, and what makes them so well adapted to their environments and different from most guitarfish as well as other stingrays. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about the adaptations that fiddler rays have. not just over what they do, not just over others, but just for themselves as well. So to start, we're going to talk about their adaptations to the marine environment. The fiddler rays, they adapt their environment very differently from other rays, and because they're more streamlined and able to use those three dorsal fins that they have, the three pectoral fins, similar to dorsal fins that they have on their back to keep themselves swimming straight. They basically adapt their environment by matching what it looks like. So they aren't like some octopus that can change their color to match and camouflage in, but their markings on their back really do help them with adapting. So to adapt to avoid predation, avoid all the predators, I'll go into talking about predators and prey right after I talk about the adaptations. To avoid their predation, there's a triangle pattern. They basically just use patterns on the back. There's a triangle pattern on the back of the fiddler ray, as well as bands, dark brown bands that run along the back that help it camouflage and look just like the seabed that they'll be taking place in. Basically what they do is they go up to sandy bottoms, they flap their two wings, you could call them, or fins, kicking up a lot of the sand around them. They settle to the bottom, and they settle before the sand, and the sand falls on top of them, making it so that all you can really see is their eyes, being that their bodies are the perfect color of the sand, so they're blending in. In this way, they're able to, when a predator comes by, hide in the sand so that the predator can't see them, and basically elongate their lives, make sure that they don't die, and that they can survive better. They use basically this exact same technique when they're catching their prey. The markings on the fiddler ray are very essential in capturing prey. The body is the perfect size, and the brown coloration of its back allows it to blend into the sandy environment, as well as the coral reef environments and grassland environments. As long as it stays close to the bottom, it's very difficult to be able to see. When basically how it catches its prey, at least fish, when a small fish swims by, it buries itself deep in the sand, waits for it to swim by, and when it does, it pounces out of its hiding spot grabbing onto the fish, and there we have it. The Fiddler Ray has a meal. So that's basically the biggest advantage that Fiddler Rays have over other guitarfish. Not only are their tails different with the 2 pectoral fins, allowing them to swim quicker and have more mobility. This allows them to find more prey and escape predators. They also have a very unique coloration of their back that helps them even more blending into their environment and avoiding. So now we're just going to really, towards the end, talk about where they stand in the food chain and give you a little bit more information on Fiddler Rays. So as you can see, the Fiddler Ray in the middle. The predators that it has are large barracuda, not small ones. Small ones wouldn't be able to eat Fiddler Rays, they're too large. Large grouper, they eat them along rocky shores, coral reefs. And blacktip reef sharks. The Fiddler Rays need to watch out for them over sandy bottoms. The rays, like I said before, they feed on crustaceans such as crabs, small shrimp, as well as small fish. And a large part of their diet are snails and polychaete worms. So that's where they stand in there. So I talked about the adaptations, their habitat, and what they eat. Here are my citations. I used 2 journals, one of which talked about parasites of them, but I didn't really go into that, being that it isn't a fatal parasite and doesn't really affect the Fiddler Rays all that much. The other one talks about the food they eat and the locations they are and why that happens, as I talked about in mine. The others are reference articles for basic information. Here are the links to all of the images that I used. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned a lot about Fiddler Rays in my presentation. Thank you.